Cindy?
Councilors Mendez, Atsalas,
Here.
Starr,
Here.
Shaughnessy,
Here.
Chair of Committee, Councilor Paula Schnapp.
Here,
You have quorum.
thank you. All right, do we have anyone for public comment?
There is nobody here at this time and nobody on the phone either.
Okay, thank you. All right, so committee members, do you have access to the agenda and the packet that Cindy provided us with the resumes and application forms?
Yes.
All right, so we're good to get started. The first person on our list is Nicole LaCour, but I'm not sure I saw whether she signed in yet.
She has not signed in, Madam Chair, but the next one has, which is Ms. Elaine Ryan.
Elaine Ryan, okay. All right, if you just give me a sec there, have her application. So she is an applicant for the Council on Aging.
Ms. Ryan, you may unmute, and if you have the capabilities, oh, there she is.
Welcome, Ms. Ryan, to the Appointments Committee. We are going to be reviewing your application for a position on the Council of Aging. We actually have 4 vacancies available, each for the various years, 23, 24, 25. Would you be interested in the 25 slot that we have available?
Sure.
Great. All right. Well, I will turn to my fellow committee members to start the interview process.
Thank you.
Council Shaughnessy, would you like to? Thank you.
Sure. Ms. Ryan, I obviously have seen your letter of interest, which just your letter of interest reads very well. As an FYI, I'm the town council liaison of the Council on Aging, but also your resume is pretty impressive as well. I'm wondering if you can just give us a sort of a quick summary of your background and why you're interested in the Council on Aging.
Sure. Well, thank you. Nice to see you all via Zoom. I recently permanently moved to the Cape, and I've owned this house for 20 years, but decided to make this my full-time place. So I have always been involved in volunteerism or community service, and as you can see from my resume, government. So most recently, for 15 years, I managed the state and local advocacy for AARP across the country, which was a fun job. So I worked on issues related to health and human services, as well as financial security and consumer affairs and livable communities. So it was a pretty wide swath. We work across party lines across the country. And prior to that, I worked for another 13 years or so for the National Governors Association affiliate of all of the commissioners appointees of health and human services across the country. So believe me, I got an education about the diversity of the country and also the complexity of the issues, frankly, facing state and local government. So, and then I worked I was the chief of staff for a member of Congress, worked on her committee, was on the House of Representatives Budget Committee for several years, and the Arcane Rules Committee. So don't think regulations or rules will challenge me, because I've seen it all. But I also worked for Governor Mario Cuomo for 9 years, and for several years when he was lieutenant governor. So I've had a kind of an interesting blend, I think, of state, federal, local, and in my my local service in DC, I was the treasurer for the DC Children and Youth Investment Trust Corporation. And that was an interesting entity set up by DC government to actually expedite the flow of funds to community-based organizations serving before and after care, and worked extensively in foster care. I've done a lot, I guess. I have an undergraduate degree in economics from Fordham University and a graduate degree from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard, and got an executive degree from Georgetown University. So I'm a learner, I'm a doer, and most of all, I want to give back in some way. And so when I saw the notice that I saw first via Twitter and then through the town newsletter, I thought, why not? Let's start somewhere and see whether or not I can make a contribution.
Well, all I have to say is thank you. We often find ourselves very lucky in the town of Barnstable that folks like yourself decide to permanently settle here. So we get, you know, I think more than other towns in Massachusetts, we get a lot of these kind of resumes. And, you know, I, for one, could not be more supportive of having you on our local council of aging. I've been an elder law attorney now for 17 years, and AARP is still my most heavily recommended website, not just to seniors, but to their children, to try to understand. It's the one place you can get a bunch of informations about a lot of public benefits explained simply and how they interact together. So I think you would be really an amazing contribution to our local council on aging. And thanks so much for your application.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Counselor-
Go ahead.
Well, I was
Counselor
just add, I don't know what more we can add to that, Elaine. We don't always get resumes this comprehensive, but it just points to the strengths of one of our community, that we get people who are here, you know, who move here and are ready to join in and have a breadth of experience. And thank you for signing up. I appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm not really sure what I was walking into, so I appreciate your welcoming thoughts.
Okay.
Councilor Eslis, anything more to ask
So
or add?
this is a rare occasion where I'm going to use the phrase brevity is a soul of wit, and your resume speaks for itself, and I enjoyed listening to you. So I don't need to know anymore. Thank you.
Oh, well, all right. Brevity is the key. So thanks so much. And by the way, I've been known to have a little wit under my belt from time to time. So I hope I can serve in both capacities.
Good.
Well,
Great.
I have just two personal questions, actually.
Sure.
Did you happen to work with Jill Finson at all at AARP?
Yes, I did. I
Great.
did several years ago, frankly. I think Jill moved on before I did, but
Yeah.
definitely.
She is a part-time resident in Katuitt, and I row with her during the summer. So it's
Oh, no kidding. All right.
Yes.
Well, then see if she'll vouch for me, because
okay.
I don't think I created any nuisance that would have her say bad things, but you never know.
And you are a neighbor. I live over on River Road and have trick-or-treated in your neighborhood many years. So
Oh, it's so great. It was great to see the kids back
Yeah.
after what was just a horrible period of time. But it's a nice neighborhood, and
it's a very nice neighborhood.
I really enjoyed it. Yeah, a lot of nice people. It's nice to have neighbors you can call on, and you know, I recently had some work done to my house here, and believe me, there were people who were, even when I wasn't here, people who were calling me to let me know what was going on.
Good. All right. So just to let you know our process, the committee will be making recommendations at the end of our meeting to the full town council, and our probably next scheduled meeting where we'll be looking at these recommendations will be in early April. So stay tuned. We will be giving you information about the approval process. I did note that you had also expressed some interest on the Human Services Committee. We don't have any current vacancies, but we might in June. So if you are still interested in being considered for that, please let Cindy know, and we will, have a conversation about that too.
Oh, great. Well, anyway, I can serve. I certainly have, I think, a pretty deep understanding of human service policies. And so maybe not as localized as you might need, but I certainly think I can school up to be able to make a contribution if needed. So,
Okay. All right, great. Well, we'll
happy
be
to help. I'm just in the helping mode right now.
good. Excellent. Okay, so do you have any questions for us, or are you?
No, I really appreciate all of your time. It's nice to meet you all, and hopefully in 2025 we'll be able to. No, it's all good. I know these terms are a little far away, but it's all good. And in the interim, if I can answer any questions, or if you find ways that you think that I could be helpful locally, I'm happy to do so.
Great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Well, thank you
All right.
all.
Okay.
Thanks so much for your time.
Have a good afternoon.
All right, you too. Bye-bye now.
Madam Chair, Nicole was able to join us.
Yeah, I just have a question before we,
Yes.
just have a question before we go
Sure.
on to the next applicant. Did we have to approve the minutes?
We will do that at the end of
Okay.
the,
Okay, good. Okay. Thank
yes,
you.
they're at the end of the agenda. Yes.
All right, thank you. Well, I'm not
so
looking at the agenda. Okay, thank
no,
you.
it's okay. So Nicole is here. All right. I'm just gonna pop open a window here.
Hi, Nicole, this is Cindy. You can unmute, and if you have the ability for video, you can turn your video on.
Like what?
Hello, Nicole. Can you hear us? I don't know if we can hear you. Are you unmuted?
And she cannot hear her.
So
Yeah.
Nicole, we can't hear you. Okay. Aha, connecting to audio. Okay. And now unmute. Now you need to unmute your device. Oh dear.
Hello?
There we go.
Hey,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Welcome. I'm Paula Schnepp, the current chair of the Appointments Committee of the Barnstable Town Council. And
Hi.
we're interviewing you today for a position on the Mid-Cape Cultural Council.
Yes.
All right. And we currently have a couple of vacancies. That's strange. One is ending at the end of this calendar year, and the other two end in June of 2025. Would you be interested in that one?
In 2025?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. All right. Well, just wanted to know as we interview you. So I'm going to turn the baton to my fellow counselors to begin the interview process. Just a
Okay.
quick interview.
Okay.
Anybody want to jump in? Counselor Atlas?
Yeah, so I'm gonna jump in. Hello, Nicole.
Hi.
How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Good. So, for some reason, my packet does not have your resume in it.
Oh,
So it's not your fault. I'm sure it's mine. So with that in mind, tell us a little bit about your background and why you believe you'd be a benefit to the Mid-Cape Cultural Council.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Well, I majored in graphic design at Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design. Got my bachelor's degree there. Had a 20-year career in graphic design. I've always loved art. I've sculpted a little bit, I've painted a little bit. I'm an illustrator mainly. I have an online embroidery company right now where I illustrate all of my patterns. So art's always been a big part of my life. I've always been pretty passionate about it, and you know, just always kind of dabbled in it here and there and everywhere, and worked with it professionally most of my life. So as a graphic designer and as an illustrator.
Thank you.
Sure. I can work on getting that resume out too.
Oh, did we not have one to begin with?
I'm not sure that I attached one. I know that I attached an application, or I sent an application, but I don't remember a resume.
Oh, Nicole, I was blaming, hey, Nicole, I was blaming myself for losing it. So I didn't think it was you.
I'll take it.
So,
I'm a little honest.
You were
I'll take the
almost
credit.
off the hook. Thank you for your honesty.
Sure.
No, go ahead. I'll defer to my fellow counselors.
I have a question, Nick.
Start.
I've never been to a cultural council meeting. Have you listened into any of the meetings?
I've actually been to, I think 2 or 3 now.
Okay, and what does Mid-Cape mean? Is that Yarmouth and Barnstable?
Yarmouth and Barnstable, yes.
Okay, good. Oh, thank you. You're educating me. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, so I've been to a couple there. They've been very interesting. Basically all about awarding the grants to different people who may apply, based in sciences, based in art, based in literature, from what I understand, music. So they go through all the applications and read through them all and decides who would be best funded for it. So it sounds like a pretty neat, or actually it is a pretty new organization.
Okay.
I like the
Thank you.
outreach. Yeah.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay.
Councilor Axelrod.
So Nicole, have you, in attending the meetings or what you've learned about the council, are there any areas that things you've identified that you know, maybe need improvement, or that you think you can maybe focus on that they're currently not focus on, don't have the capacity, that you might be able to help them out?
Well, you know, I've only been to a couple meetings, and so far everything they've covered has been a lot of award monies granted, and kind of fiduciary meetings, you know, talking about money and everything. I think I'm still kind of in the process of learning what they're all about, and eventually I know that I would find a niche in how I could help. Any kind of outreach that they might need. That's kind of where I'm hoping that I can go with it as far as volunteering.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Councilor Shaughnessy, any questions or comments, or?
Sorry, Councilor Atlas sort of asked my question.
Okay. I had a really quick one for Nicole. Did anybody sort of invite you to kind of be interested in this cultural council? How did it get on your radar screen?
So we went to an event last, I believe it was October, where they were building sandcastles in Yarmouth, and the council put it on. And I actually met with Sarah. I actually met them for the first time, Sarah and Rachel, and they told me all about the organization and how they provide grant money for different artists throughout the Cape. And that it was a really great organization, and they both seemed very passionate about it, and just it kind of got me excited to find out more about it and to want to attend a meeting or two.
Great. And you mentioned outreach being one of your areas of interest. How do you think that would be expressed, or how would you go about that?
I think outreach and the fact that just getting the organization, the name out in front of more people, having people understand what it is that they do, and that could be promoted through different events, like, I don't know, like an art walk or the Sandcastle event, or just different things that can be thought of. And it would be wonderful to be able to help promote that and help, you know, get the word out, essentially. I have done a couple of conventions a few years back where I actually promoted. And so I do have a little bit of experience with that. If that might be some way that I could help out, give ideas, I don't know, help organize.
Great. Okay. That's it for me. Anyone else follow up? Great. Okay, Nicole, the process from here is that the committee will be making some recommendations tonight that will then go on to the full town council, probably at our first April meeting.
Okay.
So in between then and Cindy will be in communication with you about our recommendation and then, the timeline for our approval process. So if all goes well, sometime by the end of April, you will receive an award. I don't know, what do you receive? An award letter or something that basically says that you need to come in and get sworn in and then begin your membership on the committee. So.
Okay, sounds wonderful.
All right. Any
Thank you.
questions of us?
I don't think so.
Good. Well, glad you were able to join us this afternoon, and
Thank you.
we hope to have you. Sometimes we have the Mid-Cape Cultural Council present to the town council, so we may see you in the future.
All right, sounds wonderful.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Madam Chair, our next one is Cornelius Colley.
All right. Yes. Oops. Oh dear.
Hi, Mr. Colley. Thank you so much for your patience. If you have the ability for video and you'd like to unmute your microphone, you may do so.
All right.
There you go. That should be it.
Welcome.
Hi.
Okay.
How are you?
Good.
Thank you.
We can see and hear you.
Yes.
Welcome, Mr. Colley. I'm Paula Schnepp. I'm the current chair of the Appointments Committee. We are a standing committee of the Barnstable Town Council, and we interview and then recommend to the full council members for our various committees. You have indicated interest in two committees that have current vacancies. That's the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission and the Infrastructure and Energy Committee. Would you like us to consider you for both committees at this time, or do you have a preference for one of them?
No, either one would be fine.
Okay.
That would work well for me.
Okay.
I think I'd mentioned, I guess there's no opening for the school committee as well, if you thought it was a good fit.
The school committee is actually an elected position.
Oh,
And
okay.
that there will be at least 2 seats open in November. So if you
Okay.
are interested in the school committee, that's something where you will have to run for office.
Oh.
Okay. All right.
Careful what you wish for.
Yes. So would any of my fellow counselors like to open the questions?
Sure, I will.
Counselor Shaughnessy?
Good evening, Mr. Colley, sorry. Our second Fordham grad tonight.
Oh, right.
New York loves Barnstable.
Yes.
I see in your letter of interest that Cheryl Powell actually recommended that you apply.
Yes.
I see you've been here a little over 3 years. And I wondered, since we're talking about the Main Street's Historic Waterfront District Commission, sort of any background in that sort of work. I see you've done a lot of, or you mentioned you've done some volunteer work primarily in the area of education. And I also see that you're a very experienced litigator.
Yeah. Well, I guess my interest in Main Street kind of stems from the fact that I live very close to Main Street. I live alone. I spend a great deal of time there, and I've befriended many of the people, the shop owners, the restaurant owners. People kind of know me around there, and I know that it could be a challenging place, especially coming out of COVID, and it's always challenging to figure out what the path forward is, because there's always got to be a path forward, And coming from New York, I was from Queens, and I really grew up in the loveliest part of Queens, right in the middle of the city. You'd never even know it was there. It was this little area, middle village, surrounded by cemeteries and parks. And it was just terrific. Very low-lying houses, very quiet. And it's not so much that the neighborhood or the area changed, but that everything around it changed. And the city started really changing things and making it much more difficult just to get in and out, just to be part of New York, just to do that. And so I was never formally part of any committee or any group or association, but certainly within my own local group, I would attend meetings and go to things like that, because as a community, we were very concerned that the city was kind of losing a sense of the character of our little neighborhood and our borough in particular, and that the city was kind of turning into this different thing. And so we were concerned about that and making sure that we still had a voice and that we were respectful of, you know, the people, the businesses, the tradition and the culture of who we were as a borough in Queens. So that's always been an interest of mine. And I guess that dovetails a little bit with infrastructure too, since I had to rely on the subways and bridges of New York, which were predictably unpredictable my entire life. So those are two things that I always find of interest.
I just wanted to say that Cheryl Powell might be one of our most active committee chairs out there. I mean, she does an excellent job as a volunteer for the town. So I think the fact that Cheryl's recommending that you apply, and obviously you have a lot of experience in all sorts of different areas. So I thank you very much for applying, and I think we're very lucky in Barnstable to get these kinds of resumes.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Councillor Atzelis.
Cornelius, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing well, thanks. Did Cheryl offer you any insight as far as what the commission does and what their focus is and challenges that they face? And did she provide you any background on that?
Just more about the structure of the committee system in the town and how the two work together in terms of managing the overall town. So beyond that, no, not too much.
In your being that you live so close to especially the downtown Main Street area, and you spend a lot of time there, as you said, just your own personal opinion, maybe, you know, a couple of areas that you think, need attention to in terms of, as it relates to the commission itself. So, you know, we have this, for example, we have this need for example, say housing, yet at the same time, we don't want to diminish the historical character of the Main Street and waterfront area. So have you any thoughts on that?
And coming from New York City, that's something that I'm aware of as well. We had in the last couple of years a very haphazard approach to housing, which was one of the reasons that things were kind of getting out of control. You had massive apartment buildings just being wedged into neighborhoods where they really had no business being, that could not be supported by mass transit, by city services, by schools, by things like that. I think it is a delicate balance, and I don't necessarily think there's any one answer, one solution. I do think there is a little bit of pain involved, because you realize that, yes, we are going to have to address these things, which means that to a certain extent, we're going to have to change. But I think the consideration then is, how do we do this responsibly? And how do we do this in a way that kind of gives us an edge or gives us added value that everybody in the community would be comfortable with?
Thank you.
Sure.
Councillor Starr.
Oh, good. Good afternoon, Cornelius. I think the Main Street committee would be wonderful. The Infrastructure and Energy Committee is more of a recycling, food waste, dealing with the transfer station. It's got a big name, but a smaller focus. So I think that would be more appropriate. So
please call me Neil. I go by Cornelius.
Neil, okay.
Neil.
All right. Yeah, I would agree with Councilor Starr.
Yeah.
I think your background talents and experience would certainly help the Hyannis Commission. That'd be great. I'm
Thank you.
I'm shortening that. So thank you.
Neil, are you aware of the recent zoning changes that are going into effect in downtown Hyannis? The
In particular,
home-based code and.
I live very close to Twin Brooks.
Mhm.
I don't know the specifics about that, but I know that there is a lot of conversation about that, about how quickly it's going to occur, what it's going to mean for the local area, can it be sustained locally in terms of the roads and things like that. So I know it's very much a topic of concern, but outside of that, I don't know of any specific rezoning initiatives that have occurred.
Well, if you are a member of this committee, you probably will have an opportunity to get to know it a little better. The town council just approved a fairly significant change to the downtown zoning that allows it to be more form-based. And so, we're hopeful that that will actually enhance the design and then also encourage housing, but in the, kind of an appropriate density and connectedness to the other uses in our downtown area. So it's an exciting time, I think, to be on this committee. So
well, the need is clearly there, and finding solutions that work for us, getting buy-in from the community. You never ever get everyone happy, but getting a collective buy-in, I think, is important.
Right.
I think it's important to note, though, that form-based code, that's the potential Twin Brooks project falls outside of
Oh, okay.
that area.
Okay.
So that's a separate project that certainly input is gonna be had, and it's already occurring. It's going to continue as long as it's going through the approval process. But the form-based code is not related to that particular.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Good clarification. And I'm not even sure if if this historic district covers the Twin Brooks. I don't think it goes that far. It just is the
Doesn't.
kids.
No, it doesn't.
So.
Oh, okay. What are the parameters of the district?
Well,
Roughly.
who wants to take it?
I
Main
think
Street
you probably-
waterfront or
Yeah.
downtown zoning?
No, Main Street. It's pretty much Main Street from, we'll call it from
East End to West End.
East End to
East
West
Street.
End, East End to West End, and then south going down to the waterfront, Ocean Street, Hyannis Harbor, Pleasant Street area, all of, down that's where it pretty much extends to.
Does it go as far out as the hospital?
No,
Okay.
I don't believe it. Well,
I-
no, I don't actually, no, I
I'd
can't
say it's
answer that.
about the boundary.
Yeah, it's
we
about
need-
more
we
up
need to
there.
check on, I personally can't answer that because I'm not sure.
Sure.
I'm gonna stay away from that for now.
I believe
I'll
the
make you a note to find
hospital
out.
Is in the
is,
medical
however,
district.
falling into
medical,
the
right?
new zoning area. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, for the new zoning area, the hospital is right,
Yes.
but not historic.
Right.
Okay.
All right. So if there aren't any more questions for Neil, I will just give you a little summary of the process from here on out. The committee will be discussing all applicants after our interview process and then making recommendations that will go to the town council, probably in our early April meeting. So the final approval process for any of these positions will be sometime in early to mid-April. Cindy will be in communication with you, though, all along the way so that you'll know, what's going on with the process. So, but hopefully we'll get you on a committee sooner than later.
Oh, terrific. Yeah, I look forward to helping out.
Okay. Any
So-
questions else? Or,
If you want to
No,
run for school committee,
yeah.
Better not.
paper pickup will be in June to run for
That's-
office.
That's right. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And
Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
okay. All right. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Madam Chair, your last three applicants, Ms. Sampu, Ms. Hersey, and Mr. Powers have all requested to be rescheduled. Ms. Sampu and Ms. Hersey got called away to work. They were waiting in the
Oh.
waiting room.
Oh,
And
they
then they
were.
had to sign off, but did send an email with their apologies to the committee members.
Okay,
Mr. Powers is out of the country at the moment, but is very interested in CFAX, so we'll call them back for your April meeting.
okay,
And the only other person that submitted an application because of a recent vacancy that occurred is Sharon Brown, which
Right.
you interviewed on your February 14th meeting.
Mhm.
For the Recreation Commission. We did get a resignation from Mr. Bent.
okay. So we'll cover that as that is the next agenda item, our resignations. And then we'll go back to discussions of the candidates that we did have an opportunity to interview today. So, all right. So item number D, we have two resignations, one from the Recreation Commission, George Bent, and another from the Zoning Board of Appeals, Todd Willantis. Can I have a motion to accept these resignations?
So move.
Second, Councilor Estes. Cindy, could you take the roll call or any discussion? Seeing none, could you please take the roll call?
Certainly, Councilors Starr,
Yes,
Atzelis,
Yes,
Shaughnessy,
Yes,
Schnapp.
Yes,
It's unanimous.
okay, great. And before we move on to discussions of our candidates, this just confirms that we do have a vacancy in the Recreation Commission. In the Zoning Board of Appeals, Mr. Willantis was a full member, right?
Correct.
All right. And had you had a chance to talk with Mr. Dewey about any alternates being,
I sent an
Yep.
email to him. I just have not heard from
Okay.
him yet. I expect I will hear from him this week, and
Okay.
that'll be on your next agenda for approval,
okay, for
which will
April,
leave, which will open up an associate position.
associate member. Okay. All right, thank you. All right, so we can open it up to discussions about our candidates. We could take it in the order of interview, which would mean Elaine Ryan would be our first candidate for the Council of Aging for a term of, I believe, 6/20/25. Any discussion on Miss Ryan, other than how fast can we get her on the committee?
right, exactly.
I-
I vote yes.
I make a motion to accept Elaine Ryan for the Council of Aging for the term beginning 6/25. 6/20/25. Is that right?
second,
The term ending.
Term
Yep.
ending, excuse me.
Term.
Yep.
Term ending 6/20/25.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any further discussion?
I'll just say that AARP has the strongest senior lobby in Washington DC in the whole country, so I think
Good.
she's gonna bring a lot in terms of ins and outs, how to access more benefits, how to be able to do more, so I'm excited.
Yes, great.
Great.
Thank you. Cindy, the roll call?
Councilors Atzelis,
Yes,
Starr,
Yes,
Shaughnessy,
Yes,
Schnapp,
Yes.
unanimous.
Okay. I believe the next person we interviewed was Nicole LaCour
Yep.
for a vacancy on the Mid-Cape Cultural Council. Any thoughts or discussion points on Ms. LaCour?
well, I'm gonna operate under the assumption that her resume backs up how well she, I think, presented herself.
Mhm.
So, that aside, I'm comfortable.
so am I. Yeah,
I think anytime somebody actually attends meetings before they come before us,
Right.
that's always a good sign. That there's a level of commitment there before they've actually wanted to get on the committee. So,
she's
Right.
been to a few, not just one or two, so I like that as well, that she's interested and put some thought into it.
right. and has some, in her experience with outreach and her willingness to use that, I think that's also a good sign.
Okay, so I make a motion to accept Nicole LaCour for the Mid-Cape Cultural Council for a term ending 06/2025.
Second,
Second,
First and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Cindy, a roll call vote, please.
Counselors, Shaughnessy,
yes.
Starr,
Yes,
Atzelis,
yes,
Schnapp.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Okay, then we have Neil
right.
Colley for, it appears that the position he's most interested or the best fit would be the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic Commission.
Mhm.
yes. Mhm.
Any comments or,
Who wants to make the
Concern?
motion? Who wants to make the motion?
I'll make the motion. I make the
Okay.
motion that Cornelius Crowley be appointed to the Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission to how do you say it?
Term
For-
expiring.
for a term expiring 06/2023.
Second,
you have a first and a second?
And Madam Chair, I apologize for speaking over you and going right to a vote. I sense from my colleagues that there wasn't much discussion needed for
No.
him, so
All
No,
right.
I just, again, respectfully.
No, no problem. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Cindy, roll call vote?
Sure. Counselors, Atzelis,
Yes,
Starr,
yes,
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
yes.
unanimous.
So we have one other candidate to consider, and that is for our newly created vacancy in the Recreation Commission. Any discussion about consideration of Sharon Brown for that position? She did interview with us last month.
I just have a question. So there's no other applicants, just Sharon's, she's the only one left over from the last round?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's all I want to know.
Okay. Any other?
she had some tough competition, and I thought she was pretty well qualified and invested in, and has grandchildren and is ready to get going. So
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to that effect?
sure, I'd love to make a motion. I think we should appoint Sharon Brown to the Recreation Commission for a term ending 06/2024.
Well, it's 23 on
23.
my agenda. Yeah.
23, okay,
Yeah,
go for the
that's-
short, okay. Thank you.
Second,
First and a second, any discussion? This will be a very short term. Hearing none. Cindy, a roll call vote, please.
Counselors, Atzelis,
Yes,
Starr,
Yes,
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy,
yes.
it's unanimous.
Okay. So we'll have 4 recommendations that will go before the council on April 6th. And I probably will ask to suspend the rules again, just so that we can get these folks on our committees as soon as possible. In April, our meeting will finally be wedged in between the first and third. So we will be able to make recommendations at our next council meeting. This has been a little awkward because our meeting is the same week as the town council meeting, so can't get it on the agenda as quickly as I would have liked to do so.
Right.
We just have a couple other items on the agenda. We have to approve our minutes from the January 31st and February 14th. But I also wanted to have a quick conversation about the timeline for reappointments and making sure that we have a mechanism to communicate that those reappointments are actual vacancies. So if anyone else is interested in those positions. And then the other piece I just want to touch on is generally with reappointments, if somebody has expressed interest and there isn't any competing people for those seats, generally, I think that the appointments committee has moved to approve them without any further interviews. Now, I haven't been on the committee for a year or two, so I don't know if that has changed since I have been on the committee, but is that everyone's understanding?
I don't know.
I mean,
Okay.
I would think that avoids the issue we had before. Before we had people being reappointed, but there was also competition, so everyone was re-interviewed. I think the other thing we sort of decided at the time was that we would reach out to chairs ahead of reappointments.
Yeah.
Because if there were any concerns that the chair had with that potential reappointment, we did want to know about that. And, that was an area where Cheryl Powell was very proactive with us and, voicing concern over reappointments. I did express, I see that 3 are coming up for the Council on Aging. So I did express to Cindy earlier that I would mention that tomorrow. So that they're already thinking about that.
Okay.
And then I wanted to say, because tonight, I feel like 2 of the people we appointed to a term of 6/20/23,
Mhm.
assuming they might not get on the committee till May meetings.
Right.
I do feel like it's sort of a slap in the face to a volunteer to have them go through the process,
Right.
get on the committee and serve a month or 2. Like in a way, I almost feel like maybe those reappointments should be automatic as well, saying
Mhm.
if there's no competition. I mean, they would be anyway, but especially where they've taken the time and they wind up serving for a month or 2. I just think that's kind of a,
So the one area that could be awkward, so
Yep.
if we made the decision that all reappointments that don't have any competition, for lack of a better word, we would consider without interview process. We would consult with the chair, but we would not expect to do interviews. Is that what you're saying, Tracy?
I think so. I mean, we didn't
Okay.
actually ever address that when we made changes.
Okay.
What we addressed more so was making sure everyone up for reappointed wanted to be reappointed. I think the difference was what was happening before. The reappointments were automatic and the competition had no chance. And that's really what we're looking to avoid.
Okay. Nick, you had something?
Yeah, so my thought goes to, as far as not interviewing someone who's being reappointed if they don't have anyone else to compete with. And yes, relying on the chair is important. However, I think we have to take into consideration when, and it's already happened, at least with me, when you're receiving calls from the public about concerns with specific members of a particular commission and how they're functioning. And in one case, it's actually a chair. When those arise and those are folks are coming up for reappointment, I think we need to look at that and we need to, we need to speak with them and talk to them about it. Hey, this is what I have no problem having that conversation. This is what I'm hearing from people who have attended your meetings or come in front of you or watch your meetings. And this is how we're being told you're operating. And if I happen to, I might even start going to those meetings to confirm myself that that's happening. They need to answer for it, I think. So I don't think it should be automatic, especially, and I think, yes, talking to the chair is important, but some of these chairs have unique relationships with their committee members. I know one committee member who pretty much votes the way the chair tells him to. And he's openly said it. So I'm not going to rely on that chair to give that person a recommendation if there's been concerns and complaints about him. I'm not going to rely on that chair. No way. And that particular chair probably needs to go next anyways, but that's another conversation. And that leads me to my next question. Are we able to remove somebody prior to their term being up for, poor performance is the best way I can put it. I see Cynthia shaking her head.
Yes.
And do
there's
you
an
want
actual-
the
there is an actual process in our code and also in the charter for removal of a member from an appointed committee for
Okay.
either lack of attendance or behavioral.
Okay, thank you. I'll take a
There
look
is
at
a
that.
process.
I'll learn more about that.
Right.
And it has played out, when I first came here, it played out on, I believe, the conservation.
All right,
Right.
thank you.
And Madam Chair, just so you're aware, we have received some applications for Concom that have become given to us, rather early, because people have noticed with an email that, so-and-so term is up. So there are going to be some applications that will start to come in.
Okay.
Because people do know when the terms expire, that your reappointment is not guaranteed.
Right. Yeah, and truthfully, the committees that usually raise the most concerns are regulatory committees. And there's also the most interest in those committees as well. And I invite interest. I mean, I think it shouldn't be a fait accompli that someone who has served for 3 years is necessarily going to serve another 3 but it's always a little bit more delicate in terms of, that process, then that's why there's 5 of us on this committee. So, because we might come to this committee with different points of view in terms of, what is good performance or bad performance. And so, as planning board, let's see, who's 1, 2. We actually have 3 appointments on planning board, plus the possibility of an early resignation. So we might have 4 slots on planning board, and that's we know that's an important committee, and so that will be interesting. ZBA, obviously, we do have an alternative, and we're going to see if how that's going to move through. And Conservation Commission is definitely, I think, is going to be an interesting one for us to look at those. But out of the gate, the commitment to interview all reappointments, I think, would be a very large task for the committee
Right.
and all the committee members. So my sense is that we will use our discretion to interview if somebody is not competing with somebody. And we will, but obviously, if there is competition, that will be an automatic opportunity. Everyone will get an interview, both the person up for reappointment plus the interested people. Tracy?
I think Councilor Atzelis made some great points. Another thing I was thinking of too, which came up with the planning board before, and it caused me to change my vote, was, we were well into talking about and interviewing planning board people when suddenly someone looked at the list and brought up, hey, wait a minute, everyone on the board is currently from the Village of Centerville. So I think, and we wouldn't have necessarily known that at the appointments level of who's currently sitting on, what village do they hail from, what are their professions, such as nobody on the planning board is in the construction or can read a plan. I mean, so I think it's important to not only who the mix of people are, making sure we have representation across as many villages as possible, but also, especially with those regulatory committees, doing our best to make sure that, for example, there's someone on there who can read a plan, someone who knows the hard questions to ask. So I thank Nick for bringing up those points, but I was thinking maybe in terms of reappointments, whether it's a short letter of interest with background, just to refresh us on what village existing people hail from and what is their background. And because obviously I remember for a lot of the newer appointments, but for people that have been sitting, I don't necessarily know. So I think that could be helpful, as well as maybe not ask them for a full packet, but maybe just ask them to.
Right. So Cindy,
A
remind us,
short letter of interest that talks
Yeah.
about their background and why they should serve or something.
right. Cindy, remind us now of the timeline and what usually goes out to committee members who are up for reappointment.
Typically, the first week of April, I reach out to all the chairs of the committee and I give them a list of all their members that are up for reappointment. I ask if there's any issues or concerns they may have for any of the members that are on the reappointment list for the committee. If none, then it gets put on the reappointment consideration for your meeting, the first one in April.
So do we not send something directly to every member that is?
Oh,
up
no,
for
I
rea-
email every single member along with the chair. They're
Oh,
included.
okay.
I send out a separate email to the chair, and then that same day, the email goes out to those that are up for reappointment, asking them if they wish to continue to serve on the committee or if they wish to discontinue as of June 30th. And I have to receive a favorable or a non-favorable. I have to receive something from them. Otherwise, come June 30th, if I've received no communication after reaching out twice, then the position is considered vacant.
Okay, so we're considering them vacant without that. We're,
Correct, yes.
all right, so I think that that's a little bit of a changed assumption. And I think what Tracy is saying is that in addition to them expressing interest for a reappointment, that they give us a short reason for their reappointment. A couple paragraphs of their, of why they would like to be reappointed.
Sure,
So in the email, maybe we can work on that email just so it's, because you're not sending them a form, but we'd like them to
No,
send us
no.
something and
yeah,
an
what I
email
can
would
do,
probably be fine.
yeah, I can send like a general statement of what I put in the email to the
Okay.
committee members, and then you can take
Okay.
a look at it and decide to add or subtract anything from it, and then we can send it out to every member.
Okay. Does that work for everyone?
Yeah.
And do we
So-
want a deadline for people to express, and if you send it out, let's see, April, the first week of April is April 3rd. And our May meeting would be the 9th. I would say by the 21st. Is that enough time? 3 weeks?
It should be. We usually only gave 2 to get back to me. If I didn't hear from the person within a week, I resent out the communication.
Okay,
And that usually prompted them to look at the email again. But by the 3rd week, I would send them a communication saying that we had sent out 2 prior. I didn't hear from you, and then, we usually said, I can only assume that means you're not interested.
right. Okay, well, given, people's commitments and the rest of their lives, I mean, I would say that we wouldn't have a hard stop until at least, by the 21st or we've previously had people not reappointed merely because there was a deadline missed, and I would rather not have that be the reason. So,
So I would say give the third strike is give them a call, and
Yeah,
must have
that's
their
what
phone
the
numbers.
3rd strike is.
Okay.
I try to
Okay.
connect either
Yeah.
by phone because they may have missed the email.
Yeah.
Because so many of us get emails piled on top of us on a daily basis. So if I don't hear from them after the second one, it's a phone call.
okay,
Okay.
All right.
Cynthia, I read every email you send me.
good.
I do send a lot, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
Oh,
So
man.
my question is, so if there are people up for reappointment in June, we already have, say, you said a couple people for Conservation Commission. How does the rest of the world know that?
That
they're,
people have submitted applications to serve on Concom.
no,
Or
does the rest
that
of the world know that there may be openings in Planning Board or Zoning Board of Appeals?
Oh, because everybody's term of expiration is listed on the individual committee pages right next to their name. So if anybody's looking to apply for any kind of a committee, and they're looking on that individual committee page, they're gonna see that John Smith expires on 2023. And that usually is what prompts people to send in an
Okay,
application.
so, yeah, okay. Thanks.
Nick?
Maybe I'm operating in an alternative universe, but I seem to remember in the past that I thought there was a kind of one-stop shopping where you could see where the openings were.
Yep, it's on our town council webpage.
Okay.
On the right-hand side of our town council page, it'll say committee vacancies.
There we go. Okay, thank you. That's
And
what-
all of the ones that are not filled currently are seated there. And I'm also working with Kevin DeColabis to put the Excel spreadsheet that I just gave you, omitting the names on the sheet and just putting the committee with how many people are expired or how many positions will be open as of 6/2023. In the
Mhm.
event somebody wants to apply, they know that John Smith is expiring in 2023, so if they want to put in an application, then they can.
So we're going to try to make it a little bit easier to see that there's an opportunity to apply for these positions.
Yes.
And probably work with Lynn Poyant to, do some communications in April. I don't think we have a deadline. This is also the tricky thing, because we need to really have 2 meetings in June at the latest in order to seat the folks so that they could start their terms in July, because the terms end June 30th. So we really don't want to delay it. We may need to have 2 meetings in May if we have a lot of interviews to do and we can't do it in one meeting.
Mhm.
That or, yeah, I think we might want to say that people interested in applying for positions that may be open at the end of June 30th should get their applications in no later than April 30th, because we're going to need to know. The other question is, and this is always, again, another tricky aspect, is people have expressed interest in the past to be on committees, and for various reasons, they haven't been seated. What obligation do we have to review previous applications that have been submitted? I mean, do any of these age out, or are we always having to run them through the mill again?
After 2 years, I keep everyone's application on file with us for 2 years. In the event a opening comes available, then I pull that application from the folder. I reach back out to that person to say, there's been a vacancy recently. You submitted an application on such and such a date. Do you still have interest or not? In fact, I'm doing that for your next meeting with somebody that had submitted an application, Mr. Pettingill, for the ZBA, because we just received an application. So I need to now reach out to him to let him know that we have a vacancy.
Okay, all right. Okay. Does everyone feel comfortable with sort of the time frame for the next 2 months? Okay. Just as a personal note, our Board of Health is one that we just recently expanded from 3 to 5. And I think there's 2 seats that are going to be up for that one, right?
Yes,
1, 2. All right. And we have an alternate member too. So actually there's 6 sitting on that committee. In the spirit of diversity and in the knowledge of how important our Board of Health is going to continue to be going forward, I think looking at that committee membership is always a good idea. So that's all I'll say. Gordon,
you're muted.
you're muted.
At what point do you want to talk to the liaisons? Because they attend a lot of the meetings and have a sense of what's going on, but maybe that can be done
Good
some other
point.
way. I don't know.
That's a good point.
Would you feel comfortable if I made an announcement at our meeting on Thursday that any liaisons who have feedback on their committees to get back to me in the next couple of weeks.
Great idea.
And
If
then
you can-
I can then share that with the full committee.
If you can do it delicately, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I know, I'm not
Yeah, I
gonna.
know. Yeah,
Blame
maybe
it on Gordon.
explain.
Just say it was Gordon's idea.
Right.
One
But,
of our
you know,
committee members, right?
you
I
can
mean,
also explain some of the timeline.
Yes,
Yeah.
no, it would be part of a bigger process of, so.
Right.
I mean, where it gets a little tricky is if the current chair of a committee is of concern, talking to the chair about
Right.
other committee members isn't probably going to get us quite the information we're looking for. So, all right. Okay, I think the only thing we have left on the agenda is meeting minutes. And we have minutes from January 31st and the 14th. Can I entertain a motion on the 31st?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from January 31st.
Have a second?
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none. Cindy, the roll call?
Certainly, Councilors Starr,
Yes.
Etzelis,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy.
yes.
It's unanimous.
Unanimous.
All right. We have minutes for February 14th.
I move to approve the minutes of the February 14th, 2023 meeting.
Second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Cindy, roll call, please.
Certainly, Councilor Etzelis,
Yes.
Starr,
Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy.
Yes,
It's unanimous.
Okay, great. Well, thank you all for,
Hey, if you
Meeting-
guys have nothing better to do tonight at 6 o'clock in the hearing room, come and get an update on the Centerville Village sewering project.
yes. And
Yes,
what-
if you have nothing else to do, feel free to come and spend some time with me.
But isn't there a Centerville Village Association meeting tonight too?
No,
Or is
that was last night.
Last night.
Oh, last night. Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is
Darn,
just,
I
this
think
is
I have-
specific, this is specific to, the Main Street, Centerville area and, that area, basically south of 28 precinct 4. So I invite you to come. I'd love to see you.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing your report on it at Thursday's meeting.
And if
thank you,
and
Nicholas. Much
if you guys,
appreciated.
if you guys have any meetings you want me to attend for your village,
Yeah.
your precinct,
Okay.
I'll do my very best to attend.
Okay, that's great.
I just want to get Melissa Alden to tomorrow's Council on Aging meeting.
Yes.
Yeah. Cindy, again, thank you for organizing and getting everything out to us. May I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All right, we got a first and second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying, oh, no, roll call.
Roll call. Councilors Starr,
Yes.
Etzelis,
I always want to do this in our town councils. Maybe? No. Yes.
Schnapp,
Yes.
Shaughnessy.
Yes.
You are adjourned at 5:09 PM.
All right. I'll see
Good
you
night,
all
everyone.
on Thursday.
See you guys
Okay.
tonight.
All right, good night.